What to expect after purchasing a new condominium. How to prepare for occupancy. After purchasing your new condo and waiting months or even years in anticipation, it's important to ensure you are organized and prepared for your occupancy process well in advance of the big day. First thing to cover is understanding when your occupancy date will likely take place. You will notice that since first buying your condo, your builder, in this case Vanmar, will issue several dates as the project progresses to try and keep you in the loop of when to expect your occupancy. You may notice that as time progresses, you will be issued many different types of occupancy dates. Here's a breakdown to simplify the process and explain what each type of occupancy date means. 1. Initial tentative occupancy date. This is the first projected date that Vanmar will issue, typically well in advance of starting construction. This date will be disclosed within your purchase agreement to try and help you decide if you want to purchase a condo in that particular community or not. This date is Vanmar's best educated projection at the time and is always subject to change as new variables arise. 2. Subsequent tentative occupancy date. These are issued by Vanmar as new information arises, such as delays with permits and approvals, to keep purchasers in the loop as best as possible. This date is still the builder's best educated projection, but is typically based on more accurate indicators than the initial tentative date. This date is still very much subject to change and is merely meant to keep purchasers as up-to-date as possible. 3. Final tentative occupancy date. As the project progresses, it becomes more realistic for Vanmar to get accurate with their projected occupancy dates, as more project variables are under control. In particular, once the roof is complete of the building your unit is in, it is reasonable and required for Vanmar to issue what is referred to as your final tentative occupancy date. When this date is issued, you should begin to mentally prepare for taking occupancy. Although this date is still subject to change, it is typically a more realistic time window of when you can expect to take occupancy of your new home. 4. Firm occupancy date. This is when things get really exciting. Your firm occupancy date is required to be issued by Vanmar within 90 to 120 days of your final tentative occupancy date. Though the firm occupancy date is still subject to change, it is much harder to make these changes, and hence this will be your most accurate projection of when you can expect to take occupancy. Now that you have a better understanding of occupancy dates, here are some general items to prepare in advance of your occupancy date taking place. 1. Your solicitor's contact information. Please make sure that Vanmar is aware of your lawyer's contact information. This is necessary so that information can be transferred in advance of your occupancy date. 2. Move-in date. Often your occupancy date is different than your move-in date due to elevator and/or truck access on the site. Please make sure you have your move-in date scheduled with Vanmar and have your trucks and other logistics planned around this date. 3. Insurance policy. Please ensure you have your property insurance set up in advance of taking occupancy. 4. Occupancy deposit. Please refer to your deposit structure in your purchase agreement. Sometimes there is a deposit due on your unit prior to occupancy. If this is the case, please have these funds ready. 5. Interim occupancy fees. Typically, there are several post-dated checks required to cover your interim occupancy fees for the next coming weeks or months. Please ensure you have this coordinated with your lawyer in advance of your occupancy date. 6. Utilities. Please ensure you have reached out to the utility provider to set up utilities specific to your unit, which may include water, gas, hydro, internet, or cable. 7. Unit rental. If you are planning on renting out your unit, please ensure Vanmar is notified in advance. You can also refer to one of our other videos that covers more information on this process. Prior to taking occupancy of your unit, all of these items, as well as some other administrative items, are required to be sorted out with your solicitor. It's best that you are in contact with your solicitor well in advance to make sure there are no delays in taking occupancy of your new home. As always, if you have any questions or would like further guidance, please don't hesitate to reach out to Vanmar or your lawyer so we can ensure this process goes as smooth as possible for you.